4K unbeaten in NA ladder. What?
Oh my god, look at this clan tag.
Hey!
In the bottom left, he loves Oz. This is RiSky, the love heart for Pez.
Beautiful.
I love it.
Up here in the top right-hand side, representing Exxon, this is TeebuL.
Oh boy.
Wasn't it RiSky and Pez who had the show match? No, it was RiSky and Pez, right? The grudge match?
Yep. They had a grudge match because they have just had a grudge, like a legitimate grudge for quite a while.
RiSky basically thought he would crush Pez. Pez was like, Australians are way better than you think, blah, blah, blah. They had a back and forth. They hosted a show match, and I think it ended up being a quick, really decisive 2-0 for Pez.
I think so. It was something like that. Pez won, and definitely I don't think was favored there. You know, rarely is going to be against RiSky, but it's one of those weird rivalry things where sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's like, all right, guys, and sometimes it's just you know, it just fires you up a little bit, and it's good to have that history. Honestly, I think that it makes a region interesting to watch as a viewer. You know, nothing's more more awesome than having some sort of, like, I don't know if you want to call it respect, but the you know, having some skin in the game, having something on the line other than just prize money.
Well, I think it is respect at this point, Maynard. And I think it does. It makes such a big difference because respect is not something that is ever just given freely. It has to be earned. And that is exactly what Pez did. And that's why now his face is rotating next to RiSky's hatchery. So the tax is being paid in full.
He's earned his clan tag right next to that hatchery right there. Representation here. I love it.
Oh. Well, it's going to be Oxide to start out, which I do think is a good defensive map. I don't think it's bad for Zerg. It's just not as good for some of the shenanigans that players like to pull off. A Stalker to start things off. TeebuL does not want RiSky to see what's going on in his base. Not at all.
No, he's been locking things down pretty tightly against Ender as well. At least he did on a Ranta side. And yeah, you know, you're quite right. Usually it's the Adept into the Stalker, but just trying to force back that Overlord. Knows that RiSky isn't going to be sending any drones across the map. He's not one of those wild kid Zergs. Zergs only want to scout with Overlords these days.
Delayed Stargate after that from TeebuL as well. So he's doing the Hidden Oracle, and I wonder if he really sells the story. Because like we've seen players recently, like Zest is so good at it, where he will make it look exactly like it was. Already the Overlord has seen Warp Gate and a Gateway unit come out straight away, a Stalker early. These are all gas-heavy things which slow down the Stargate. People don't want to do that. They want the Stargate as quick as possible. So basically, what he could do to sell it more is shading 4 Adepts out and clearing all the Ling Scouts right at about 4 minutes 10. That's normally when the Prism leaves the base and comes out and then starts warping in Adepts on the other side of the map. So if he can do that, clear a path, make it look like Adepts are coming, and then bam, 2 Oracles fly out and arrive in a mineral line unexpected. That's where massive damage can happen. And more important than the direct drone damage is if you can scare your opponent into making roaches. If you're doing Oracle harass and they make like 6 or 7 roaches, it's so bad for the Zerg because their drone count is so low.
And the Oracle #1 is coming out for TeebuL, immediately dropping down the Twilight Council underneath the Stargate too. So once again, another one of those games where he's opening with Stargate, but not relying on Stargate units. This is going to be one of those, you know, triple Void Ray games. This is going to be one of those, I guess the more normal sort of Adept Resonating Glaives or Charge into +1 kind of games.
Well, 10 Zerglings already on the way here for RiSky. The one advantage of the Oracle, I mean, 2 drones is great, but seeing it this early means he doesn't start Roaches. Did he cancel his Roach Warren, by the way, or did that finish?
I did not see, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's finished behind the third base. So, okay, cool. So it's still 34 drones versus 43. This is really rough. This is just not what you want as the Zerg. You're like, hey, I've got a lot of Zerglings out here. And it's like, cool, good luck canceling a third against a player who's got an Oracle here. You know, RiSky wants to find something. He'll get 1 Adept, but already a very good opening for TeebuL. And I just love the way he's opened up this game. And I love that Protoss players are doing this more. Now, his Glaives got spotted. So he drops a DT Shrine after clearing the Scout. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he's been loving the Invisible Man, and the follow-up with the DTs did so much damage to Ender in game 1. Can it happen again here with RiSky? Oracle is keeping tags on there.
So that's cool. Yeah, I like that. I really like that, because look at all the Roaches being built, right? RiSky's got to really respect Adepts coming across the map. If you shade even some non-Glaive Adepts across, he's going to get even more scared and make even more Roaches.
And we do have a half a dozen on the way here for RiSky, along with that lair. When the lair is done, he will have that mobile detection. 8 more roaches, or rather 8 roaches in total coming out here. And this Oracle's been quite nice for TeebuL, obviously denying creep. It's denied a little bit of mining time with the Stasis Ward as well. It hasn't done any crazy damage, but it's just been keeping the Zerg honest.
Yeah. And Blink's on the way in +1, which is the best defensive army. RiSky continuing to make roaches. At this point, it's not just for safety. I think he's going to have to use it aggressively. So definitely something to keep our eyes on. Blink and +1. The roaches, the queens, they're starting their march, I think. He wants to hide the roaches. He does a good job. 2 more queens start. He's going. All right, the Ravager Queen walking across this map. Does he have a lair?
He does have a lair, yes.
Okay, he's got a lair. So as long as he brings an overseer, does he have an overseer? Oh, he doesn't. No overseer just yet. So he's got to bring an overseer over. The DTs are going to buy TeebuL at least 20, 30 seconds because he's going to be able to kill the first wave. And if that's all you often need. DTs already come down and slow this down. Oh, they're going to go for like a counterattack, are they? 5 drones start up for RiSky, realizing he can't really attack here. TeebuL's up 14 workers. TeebuL is way ahead in this game. Disruptors, immortals, cannons, batteries. TeebuL is in a fantastic position.
Yeah, absolutely. Winning the, I guess, the tech shift bingo, the mind game part of the game. And RiSky forced to fall back against that initial plan to attack. And the DT coming in was going to attack into the drone line, but the Ling's taking its attention away. It gets 1 drone, but dies. So obviously not a good trade there for TeebuL. And he can afford to throw a little bit away here, having had the stronger economy. That doesn't really hurt him a whole lot.
Yeah, builds a whole bunch of batteries. I think he cancelled 1 or 2 of the cannons, but does still get a few extra batteries. Not the most useful now that, of course, RiSky's not committing. Second Robo on the way. Disruptor production starting. Blink as well. Double Evo Chamber going down for RiSky, but very late into the upgrade. So he's going to be playing catch up on those. And overall, I'm just curious to kind of see, hey, okay, you've got the advantage, TeebuL. What can you do with it? Because if you can't do well from this sort of start, then definitely I think that, hasn't beat RiSky since 2017 stat becomes very prominent in my mind and I start regretting my prediction. But I think it should definitely be a big advantage for TeebuL here.
And RiSky's not quite got the gas for Carapace at the moment, but he did start +1 attack, which of course is the more important upgrade when you're going towards Lurkers and Hydras, as he is in this game. The second Evo Chamber is still dormant at the moment. RiSky got a bit of money in the bank as he starts to spend, gets another round of Lings out at the moment, and sees the push from the Protoss, or at least the poke from the Protoss. I don't call it a push just yet, sort of poke on the edge of that creep. Because that creep spread pig, I tell you what, that's not bloody bad at all.
Yeah, dude, he's
on the front door of the third base.
Yeah, he's got like a fork going across the map. He's got like some prongs of creep that's going to give him so much movement. He's got it going down the right side. I mean, this is just really, really nice. And Baneling Nest going down, so he's going to swap into Bane Hydra at some point, and that's a pretty good mid-game army. Of course, the 4th on the way here for TeebuL as well. And +1 melee, +1 range, up against +2 attack. Gotta start clearing creep and doing something out of the map, I think. I think TeebuL sat back a little bit too long after thinking he was getting Ravager Queen pushed, which was absolutely the right read at the time. It's just RiSky changed his mind. Now he's got to start doing something.
He's launched forward there with the Disruptor, and unfortunately, Roaches and Lings have shown up and started to, I guess, force his hand here as he attacks into the natural, kills a bit of the static defense, takes the pylons down, now threatening the natural, and that's where the Robo is as well, which opens up top left. That Nexus is going to be cancelled or killed here by those Lings.
Yeah, Blinkstalkers really should be jumping on those Roaches and hunting them down. Losing the 4th is a bummer. RiSky loses some Roaches, some Lings, but not the end of the world. He wants to slow TeebuL down. He's got a 76 drone advantage over 66 workers of TeebuL. TeebuL's army, of course, much higher quality for now, but things like Hydras, Bane Speed, there's upgrades kicking in, all going to make a big difference. RiSky does need to remember to start Muscular Augments, though. He was a little bit broke before, so he didn't have the gas to queue up the Hydra movement speed. And, if he forgets that for the rest of this game, as he swaps into mostly Hydra Bane off the Roach Ravager, that's going to hurt him.
You're certainly right there. And the Lurker Den, I believe, is done for RiSky as well. We haven't seen any Lurkers just yet. At least I haven't noticed. Oh, no, he canceled the Lurker Den. Excuse me. I definitely saw it in production, so just rethinking things here.
Oh. Man, Hydra Bane's pretty good against Disruptors. If you can get a flank on this sort of army, it's fantastic. And TeebuL now adding Plasma Shields after +2 attack. And is taking that 4th Templar Archives as well. Lots of Lings looking for run-bys. RiSky can get another cancel on that 4th. That would be great for him. TeebuL should not be letting that 4th go down.
Oh, it's going to go down again, Pig. army out of position. Ling's getting a full surround. Yep, that's another cancel. Second cancel there. Baneling's also just waddling into the third base. No Baneling speed just yet.
Oh, TeebuL's done so well in the early game. I really feel like his early game was better here, but the Baneling's not able to find the mark.
It was a good hold.
Yeah, it was a good hold for now, but losing the fourth again. I mean, the problem for me is when does TeebuL push? How does he push through this? He's got not that many Archons. It's mostly a Stalker army. This is the sort of army that can work flexibly to control the map. That's its main advantage. He's not able to do that in this game, though. RiSky is the one who's taking map control off him, and that's why TeebuL's losing bases. He can't keep his fourth up, and now he starts the Stargate transition to the late game, but it's delayed. It was not his first plan. So I definitely feel like this creep needs to get pushed back. TeebuL needs to get a Prism in there or something. Right now, RiSky's got too much map control, and TeebuL's suffering because of it.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to keep up pace with the Zerg here for the time being as RiSky begins his hive. Heading towards tier 3 himself here as the tier 2 starts to run out. There's Muscular Augment, so we're looking for that upgrade. He did remember it. Obviously a little bit late, but, you know, better late than never. The Roach Ravager Ling Bane Force on the right side here, looking to grab a handful of Gateway units. If he can surround them, they're going to all go down.
Few Banelings do get spent. It is just Zealots, so it's the least important part of the Protoss army. Not bad for RiSky by any means. Anything to just kind of diminish the size of the Protoss army is good. But it's not really something where TeebuL's going to be like, you know, it's not the gas. It's not as important as that. Ooh, Archon Cannon's doing really good versus these Banes. Oh, that's not good for RiSky. Gets an Archon and a Disruptor. Not a good trade for RiSky.
Not at all. The Bile's going to the middle of the pack, but the Stalkers blink forward and punish him there for that attack with the Ravagers as well. So TeebuL's starting to find some decent trades here. Is it TeebuL's boon or just RiSky making a mistake? I mean, maybe a little bit of both.
Well, RiSky's got most of his army swapping over to Hydra Bane. Still some Roaches in there. Oh, he's kind of stuck on that lair tech. He's going to start the Lurkers for now, but definitely needs to get rid of this creep, does TeebuL. In this left space, he keeps leaving it exposed with no defense. He's going to try and recall some units, but okay, it will be enough to save the base this time. But RiSky really, these big Ling squads, these vicious run-bys, he's doing so well. He's going to try and jump on the army on the right. Disruptor needs to fire.
It certainly does. He's got Lings on the left side. The Lings are very beaten, battered, and bruised from that attack on the top left, but the Disruptor goes down before the Nova connects. And the Baneling's still being kept at the backside there for RiSky. A good engagement. Even the Bile's clipping a Stalker there in the end. RiSky coming back for more blood, and he finds it.
Seismic Spine's on the way now for RiSky as well, so he's going to be going into that. TeebuL, he'd like to go carriers. The thing is, each time his Zealot run-bys come in, it's kind of after RiSky's dealt some damage to him and then just goes home and cleans it up. So the Zealot run-bys not finding much. The Prism in the main does a little something. Okay, finally starting to get a few drones in there, pulling his attention away. He needs to get rid of this creep spread. RiSky's creep spread is just doing so much for him.
Prism finds an angle in the main base. The Zealot's getting in between the Hydra Den and the Hive, so they've got a nice little surface area advantage, but the Lings should be able to get rid of them there in the meantime. Ooh. Another Zealot run by here at this base, which RiSky sort of engages and then disengages with those Banelings. Maybe rethinking it there.
Oh, Zealot's going down. But they are taking out some units whenever he does this, so it's not the worst trades for TeebuL. Let's just get the gas up on that fourth. Get it up now, and do not ever lose that base again. You need to get gas, otherwise Loki gets angry.
Yeah, I mean, Loki he grew up in a different time, and he really can't stand Protoss. He just has always had hang-ups with it. His parents didn't like Protoss. His mum doesn't like Protoss. He's just, you have to bear with him. He grew up in a different time. He doesn't quite have the racial tolerance that the rest of us do.
Yeah.
He's being lifted up and carried into the ensuite right now. It's an emergency reaction from Wife Nard.
I personally will miss him, but good defense here once again. Well done by TeebuL. Okay, so he's stabilized now, 80 probes. Of course, much bigger bank for RiSky, right? He's denied that fourth so many times earlier. The Disruptors always have big potential, but they can also do absolutely nothing if the Zerg gets the right engagement.
You're quite right. Lurkers really are, for me, the S tier Zerg unit. They are so insane when they work, and they can be, you know, when a good handyman gets a hold of those tools, those Lurkers seem extremely hard to deal with, and RiSky's pretty handy. And the Lurkers on the right side, oh man, TeebuL. I mean, Immortals are great, Archons are great, they can definitely push back Lurkers, but when you got like 10, 12 of them and they got their Hive upgrades, it's very tough to push into.
Yeah, that is awkward, that is. The Zerglings on the right side as well. Banelings, oh, that's a big one, Maynard.
Oh my god. Oh, and the probes just running into acid bath death right there. Oh, that transfer, 34 probes going down. The stacked up probes. I mean, that's a Zerg's wet dream in the top left there. And RiSky, I mean, he had no gas bank when those banelings rolled in, but in the meantime, while maxed, he managed to amass a little bit more. So he's able to afford a couple Hydras, he's able to afford +3 attack on ranged and melee, and he is looking real good here, Pig. TeebuL needs to break this lurker line and hit back real hard.
Yeah, I think bypassing the lurker line is even the dream, right? Because that's still a very scary Protoss army against everything except a big line of lurkers. Big line of lurkers beats just about everything, unless you can get those disruptors to land just right. He's got a lot of gas still, does TeebuL. If he can warp in another couple rounds of Archons, that would be huge.
Oh, the Hydra's coming in for the right side to try and make it awkward for TeebuL to just roll on through. The lurkers do a lot of splash damage there. In comes the Viper as well. Potentially yoink some... Oh, actually doesn't have enough energy, but could yoink things into the lurkers later on. And RiSky's army supply takes a bit of a knock, but it is still quite powerful, and that bank is still there. He still maintains a supply lead as TeebuL tries to switch gears into the tier 3 Stargate units. Carriers being amassed right now.
I think that's a good choice there by TeebuL. You know, get the +2, get the carriers out, add that to your army. He's rebooting his High Templar. Once again, this top left base, it's always been RiSky's target.
And he's been finding damage here for the most part. This time, he does get deflected. Loses a few units in the meantime, but RiSky always active. This lurker burrow, that Nexus is dead.
Ooh, that is a big kill, but TeebuL answers on the left as well. Disruptors coming in. +3 attack on the melee and the range coming in here for RiSky. And he is trying to just kind of get that up to the next big maxed out army. RiSky still with tons of money in the bank, minerals especially. But the carrier count grows, and there is no direct counter to that just yet. It's just Hydras plus maybe some Abducts. If we get 6 carriers out for TeebuL, I think this game shifts drastically.
Yeah, you're quite right. I mean, it's a similar base count for both players. TeebuL does have the worker count to be able to saturate those bases, so, you know, he's doing all right. If you factor in the fact that the main is mined out, of course, it was a little oversaturated here and there, actually. But it's still very awkward. He's not in a super comfortable spot to max out with that tier 3 air army. And RiSky, it feels like, is still holding the reins on this game at the moment. TeebuL needs to wrestle away this location. Oh, an Archon going down to those lurkers, getting a little bit too close. Oh, the Nova's into the Hydra pack, though. Not bad for TeebuL. A good connection.
Oh, delicious connection there. I mean, that's just... Oh, damn. That is just... Oof. Absolutely tasty. And what do we got? Lurkers pulling back on the right side. Zealots causing a bit of a ruckus. They do manage to almost kill a bunch of lurkers, but the burrow does save them as they pull on back. Observer goes down to the spore as well. I think the dream of the supercharged Protoss army is drifting away at this point, right? Because he's getting worn down, he keeps losing his Nexi, his bases, his probes, but he's also losing little chunks of army as well. So there's times where it's suddenly like, hey, then the Protoss just has a super max, 10 Archons, 10 High Templar, a bunch of Immortals, bunch of carriers, and so it can't stop it. In this game, it does not look like that's going to happen.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. I mean, maybe if the mid-game was a little bit more stable and he didn't take quite as much damage and didn't have his 4th cancelled over and over again, could probably be talking a different story here for TeebuL. You know, tighten a few of those screws in the build and maybe things look a little bit better. Oh no, the defensive High Templar just evaporate to the +3 attack Hydras. Top left in a ton of trouble. This Nexus isn't out of hot water either. I mean, the carriers will come forward and take down the Hydras, at least. Storms on top of the lurkers to take them down finally. The top left goes down for the 3rd time in this game, and RiSky's army is just terrifying right now against what TeebuL has.
Just think about how good this early game was for TeebuL again, Maynard. This was a great early game for him, and yet RiSky has navigated his way out of Mass Roach Ravager Queen into Hydra Bane, into Lurker Viper. He has navigated through 3 awkward transitions, and yet he's done it. He's done it with poise, he's done it with finesse, and he finds himself just using these packs of Lings, these Ravagers, now the Hydras, the Lurkers, to multi-prong attack many areas. And TeebuL's, he's in Struggle Town. He's fighting hard, but just is not able to get that army together anymore.
Drone transfer in the bottom right. Obviously, TeebuL's going to find some damage here, but the problem is he's just not able to kill RiSky. He can't kill the army. I mean, there's only 2 casters, Loki. You'll have to relax and wait your turn. I can't quite afford a second microphone. He's just trying to make his voice carry here. But yeah, so the charge lot's going down, finding some damage, but in the grand scheme of things, RiSky very close to maxed out here, still has that comfortable bank. And while he has been taking damage, he's actually taking top left away from TeebuL. That's the situation right now, and you're never going to feel happy about that as the Protoss in this game.
Yeah, that's how you assert dominance, Maynard. You do it even right next to the Assimilator, the Lurker, just kind of clearing that up, and People trying to hang on in here, but I would have liked to see him get a bit more mobile, a bit more aggressive. I mean, this is the knife's edge that Protoss vs. Zerg rests on sometimes is, yeah, you see him doing a Ravager Queen push. He transitions out of it. Okay, cool. He's still got a big army. You still got to push out and contest. Because RiSky spread creep so well behind his failed aggression, behind his poor early game situation that he found himself in. He spread the creep, he dominated the map, he used Zergling run-bys to buy himself a huge amount of time. At the points when TeebuL should have been pushing through and killing him, instead, TeebuL was running back and trying to defend his fourth, failing and losing it multiple times. So it was a situation where, honestly, RiSky was behind and yet was bullying and getting advantages while having a worse army. And that's a sign of expert play. That's a sign of a player who's coming in here and it looks like that's saying, oh, you know, what's his mentality like? Has he sorted out his expectations? I think this game dispels a lot of my fears. Maybe his early game's not as tight, whether it be from lack of practice or otherwise, but his poise, once he gets into an action-packed game, is splendid.
Those storms, not bad on those Hydras. Like, TeebuL's getting some great connections with his splash damage, but unfortunately, RiSky has got himself such a good location in this game that even the greatest splash damage is not going to be enough for TeebuL at this point. RiSky redroning. He is up 100 supply and change, Pig. You don't come back from this.
No, not at all. This is going to be really tough. Very, very tough. Kind of, you know, having a rally after this game as well. Obviously, he's just kind of hanging in there, fighting it out and seeing how it goes right now. But he's going to need to give it another go in a little bit, I think. He's going to need to kind of reset and just say, yeah. It's going to be definitely one where you just kind of chill, take a breath and go, oh man, that's a hard match. It's RiSky. He's the king for a reason.
Yes, indeed. Takes game one there away from TeebuL. And like you mentioned, Pig, the most important thing to take away from that is that the early game was quite good for TeebuL. TeebuL was in a very, very good spot there. A few of the games that we had in the Ender series against TeebuL, it was really one or the other player sort of starting ahead and then riding that lead all the way to the finish line. Whereas that game, it sort of went back and forth. And then once it got from mid to late game, that's when RiSky just showed him, he's like, oh, I'm the better player here. My late game is going to just be better than yours, and I'm going to be hitting you in multiple spots, and you're not going to be able to handle it. You will not be able to keep pace. And RiSky definitely showed us that game there at the tail end.
Yeah, sometimes I think you've got to kind of get under his skin in the mid game and make him fear you with a player like RiSky, because when he gets to do his thing on his schedule in terms of just like progressive macro, do A, then B, then C, he's so good at it. This was actually a great trade for TeebuL there, but this was a huge turning point in this game. I mean, and then you think he's out with half those probes, and he runs right.
Stack probes. Oh, the slow replay there. I love it. That's the Zerg Wet Dream Baneling connection right there. And this engagement was actually one of those engagements where I'm like, oh, maybe TeebuL can get some good disruptor shots here. Maybe the Immortals and the Archons take a few lurkers down. Nope. TeebuL lost everything there on the retreat through the middle, south right side of the map there.
I think that was, he still had a chance at that point as well, right, Maynard? That big surround. But he had a lot of gas in the bank. And like, I think if he had 4 or 5 more Archons, I don't care how much Hydra, Bane, Ravager you have. You try and surround like 10 Archons plus Storm, you're going to crumple. Everything's going to disappear and fall apart. But his Prism was on the other side of the map. He had no way to reinforce. And his Prism wasn't able to get Zealots in the main at the same time. So it was just one of those unfortunate little things where I was like, oh, man, if he was able to salvage it there, there was still that mining advantage from earlier on. All that gas that had built up. And every Zerg has been in a scenario like this where if you don't have an amazing late game army, and they've got 10 Archons, they've got that maxed out army of Storm, Protoss always has a shot to bring it back. But great surround from RiSky and a great game one.
Absolutely. And that's leaving me pretty confident that he is, likely going to edge out this series here. If he can get to that phase, and that really is historically where RiSky's been finding a lot of his wins, is when he slows the game down, lets it go into the late game where he feels so comfortable playing with the tier 3 Zerg units and with those maxed out tier 2 Zerg armies, with the 5 hatcheries, with the drone count, and with that, might I say, pretty damn good creep spread there on that game as well, where you can just sit back and react or basically have your choice because you have complete map control. We're going to take a short break. When we return, RiSky TeebuL Game 2. We'll see you then. G'day, StarCraft fans. Welcome back. We're in the midst of our second ZVP, or PVZ, however we're going to look at it, for the evening. Our second series of the evening with RiSky, currently 1-0 up on the Protoss TeebuL, who managed to defeat Ender and found himself in the winner's match, but RiSky making him work hard for this step into the next phase of this tournament, into the bracket stage. Speaking of Enderpig, did get news that he has unfortunately been unceremoniously excused from the tournament already. The reigning champ. He's gone for the season. Yeah,
Really?
2-0 by Ranger.
Wow, that's a big win for Ranger and an unfortunate turn for Ender after surprising us so well last season. But definitely a good rally for Ranger, of course, who'll be playing the loser in the final chance to progress match, which should be cool. So, damn, that's such a turn of events, man. I really thought we were going to see Ender just go from strength to strength this season.
Me too. You know, I was actually, I was sort of feeling like, you know, maybe he doesn't win this season, but I definitely thought he would make it to the bracket stage again, to the top 4 for sure. But yeah, I mean, goes to show that anything can happen here. Big break over the Christmas holidays and New Year's and getting into the new season for Dreamhack after I Am Katowice finishing up. We're in our brand new season, and a lot of time has passed since then. And we are getting amongst it. In the bottom left here, currently up in the series on match point, this is RiSky, and he loves Australia.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? I think this man does as well. I think he enjoys it. I think he also enjoys his own team. Exxon, up here in the top right, playing Protoss. A great opening last game. Let's see if he can convert this time. It's TeebuL. Yeah, definitely just, you know, such a good start last game, Maynard. Such a good one. I do think the main factor, if I had to sum it up, was just didn't quite swap into the aggressive stance early enough, right? Let RiSky have too much control and choice over what was going on. And I mean, RiSky looked way too good when he does that. Way too good. The way he used his units was really nice. I was like, damn, man. RiSky still got it.
Yes, he does. This guy's got the skills to pay the bills. And they have been paying the bills lately for RiSky. He is studying, though. I wonder what he's studying. Might ask him.
Yeah, I haven't actually spoken to him too much recently, but definitely time for a catch-up after he tops this group. Or doesn't, but either way, should definitely give him a message in a chat after this one. And it's been too long since we've seen some of these faces down in a live event and human, you know, human reality space.
Yeah, but, human beings.
Hopefully some point soon, because I think, man, when we get back out to a live event, there is going to be a crazy electricity in the air. Everyone's going to be so happy to see each other again.
Yeah, I think it's actually going to be kind of weird at the first one. Like it'll be weird at first, but then it'll settle back into the old, like, you know.
Everyone's going to hug you a few seconds too long, shake your hand a little too long.
Or you have to ask, like, are you comfortable with it? Yeah, you know, like, you know, someone that you would normally hug, you'd be like, oh, can I? And then be like stepping back and just sort of like having that sort of knee-jerk reaction to step back and be like, oh, wait. And then you're like, oh, wait, no, we're vaccinated now. And then you're like, oh, and then it's all strange. But then it'll be fine. That's my prediction. And
then we'll enjoy StarCraft, cheering next to each other, having a beer while watching some good games and all the rest of the great stuff. And
yeah.
I hope there's a few people out there who are likewise enjoying these matches right now, cheering for their favorite players. It's going to be a Stargate opening, but no mind games for TeebuL this time. Straight to the Stargate, delayed his warp gate, so RiSky with that Overlord sitting right above the natural knows all about it, and won't be getting tricked this time around. So definitely, I'm quaking in my boots a little bit. He was down 10 drones really early in that last game. What's it going to look like if he actually responds correctly with all the information, knowing what's going on?
And there's going to be a Void Ray this time from TeebuL. I think I guess the modern PVZ opener, where we get the laser beams that shoot up and not just the laser beams that shoot down. Stargate meta. It's been turning on its heels lately.
Indeed, and it's been kind of going around a little bit. Quite a lot of the guys in Korea, double Oracle, triple Oracle, Oracle, and no Void Ray. You know, just sometimes one Void Ray, but it feels like it's rare. Outside of maybe like Romanticide for players to go the many Void Ray, the 2 Stargate Void Ray build anymore. So it's cool to see TeebuL here. He's going, all right, no, I want to do that. Void Ray, second Void Ray, quick third base. Want to get it down before 4 minutes. Oh, great movement with the Lings. And I think that Adept actually should have cancelled that one, but I don't think TeebuL was looking because nobody ever does that sneaky maneuver.
Yeah, nice little micro trick there from RiSky. I mean, it's not super hard to do, but if your Protoss isn't paying attention, then you get that surround, and that safety of the minerals isn't so safe at all. You got Lings inside the house with you. And there's the Roach Warren going down here for RiSky, not like a 7-minute Roach Warren like Ender. It's a little bit more sensible.
So about this time in the previous game, RiSky was at 34 drones versus 44. But look at this. This time around, lots of drones popping up to 37. Soon he'll be even with TeebuL. 42 versus probably about 44 from the Protoss player. So it's a much better start off for RiSky. Still has a relatively quick Roach Warren, but much more appropriately timed since he is up against a Stargate opening.
Quite right, quite right. Yeah, it's one of that. It's the early game balance of EVP where you have to be like, how much do I drone here? Is this the depths? Is this Stargate? He knows since the beginning of the game with that Overlord over the Cybercore, this is Stargate. And it is going to be Resonating Glaives following up with the Void Rays. And we have seen TeebuL start one Twilight Council upgrade, then shift gears. This time it looks like he's going to commit.
Oh, yeah. That's 45 drones only. I like this version. This is what, some people, like Ender was playing it, DIG plays it, the much later Roach Warren. And it's good for greed, but it doesn't give the same flexibility. When you get this early Roach Warren, you can just get a few roaches to safety. You can skip them entirely, or you can walk those queens across the map. And I mean, I call this the brick build because it's not necessarily especially elegant, but it's destructive and it works a lot. It's a violent build. You just grab your queens, your Ravagers, and you smash them across the map into the Protoss. And it's bloody effective, man. Solar has been doing so well against all the top Protoss players with this.
In a Lima League, though, he keeps hitting Trap, who's like, I have Disruptors. And
Trap's very good against that, isn't he? Trap is like the expert against it.
Trap smacks this back like it's a fly buzzing around his head. It's so easy for him, but a different story for most. The Adepts showing up here and definitely putting a spanner in the works for RiSky, finding a lot of drone damage. He target fires a little bit. There we go. 5 going down, and still the Adepts alive, still threatening, shading against those drones.
This is such a slow queen walk. Nobody queen walks on this map because it's such a far walking distance to those queens. And the funny thing is, TeebuL's just going to give up his third base. He's just going to build a DT shrine. He's doing great damage behind this. He's going to give up his third, maybe retake it once he's defended, but he's got DTs. There's no lair. The workers are getting annihilated. RiSky doesn't have any money right now. This is perfect play from TeebuL, and by the time those queens and Ravagers get to his natural, guess what? He's going to have Dark Templar taking them all down. He could even save his third.
He might be able to. It's just queens on their own. I mean, they have a lot of utility. Those girls can transfuse each other for quite a while, but they aren't the greatest fighting force. They will eventually go down. Their damage output, especially against buildings, is quite abysmal.
If those storms pull north to the shield battery, they could actually overcharge and hold. There's a shield battery behind the mineral line, which he's forgotten about.
Yeah.
Bit of a mistake from TeebuL, but nonetheless, I mean, everything else is perfect. Let's find a mistake. That's the only one. Everything else is perfect. He's not even using the DTs to defend. He's sending them across the map to kill RiSky's base and workers. This is just perfect strategy from TeebuL. And I mean, he got ahead game 1. He's getting in a winning position here in game 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it looks like the third is actually going to go down as the Ravagers have shown up. But again, the Dark Templar are the spanner in the works. They are the weird unit that I don't think RiSky foresaw here. And yeah, that reaction. He's just going to tap out. GG. TeebuL bamboozling RiSky and getting himself a map on the board.
Purely reactive as well in terms of the way he adapted there. Glaive adapts, not very good at fighting Roach Ravager Queen, but very good at dealing with the supporting Zerglings rallying across and the drones in the back. So he just shifts those over, continues to commit, drops a DT shrine, stops probing up his third, evacuates it. I mean, that there was just such quick thinking. You could tell it was a set play that he has trained for that scenario. So even though I think he was initially surprised to see a Queen walk on 2,000 atmospheres, such a long distance, he just reacted very calmly, and TeebuL impressing us. I mean, this is really cool. TeebuL's early game has been a lot tighter than RiSky, and it feels like RiSky needs to kind of force a longer game in the next map to get that scenario where he looked a lot better.
You're quite right. That seems to be his comfort zone, the later game stages of the match, whether it be ZVT, ZVZ, ZVP. He is pretty amazing at it. And this started things from strength to strength for TeebuL. The Adepts came in, they found drone damage, they pulled back the attack, and the Dark Shrine takes a very long time to build, but he bought time for it. And these Queens, their damage against buildings, not great. Yeah, as you mentioned, the Stalkers maybe could have skedaddled up to the north side there and gotten the support of an overcharged shield battery and taken the fight even closer to the Queens. But that was the GG maneuver there. Getting rid of that Spore, that meant the third was about to die. and RiSky completely forgiven for tapping there, like a lot of Zergs would. He's just been, I don't want to call it build order counted. Would you call it build order counted?
Yeah.
Strategy counted. Just his strategy got shut down super hard by everything that TeebuL did there.
It's kind of an odd one to describe because it's like he kind of did a sneaky strategy for the map, and definitely with that reaction, it was, yeah, his build, that execution, that reaction beats RiSky's build, right? But RiSky probably hasn't played against that one, so he didn't know it. He was probably like, yeah, I can deal with like a Glaive Adept. I know this is something, it's fine, but yeah, man, that didn't go well for him at all. So I imagine we'll see a bit more of a laid-back RiSky. I mean, I do like that he threatens that push, but not really the right map for it. So it was either a very high-level mind game or a poor choice of build for the map for RiSky. I'm going to say it was a high-level mind game that didn't pay off.
Well, it happens sometimes, but I'm with you, though. I think he's going to be dialing it back and trying to be a little bit more conservative here in the third game. This is a winner's match, so both players have got that extra chance in the deciders, but... So no one's getting eliminated here, but the winner does go to the next stages. So this is a big match. In the top left of Romanticide, loving Australia, this is RiSky.
Gonna have to ask him what I can do to get that handsome man and a love heart next to my hatchery as well. But, of course, his opponent, the one looking to tear it down with his Dark Templar. In the bottom right, it's Exxon's TeebuL.
Yeah, gonna have to message RiSky and get that PNG that he used for his clan tag. Just seems like a good thing to have for wallpaper.
Oh yeah. Well, nice early block on the hatchery from TeebuL. A fan of causing a little bit of disruption early on. Forces RiSky to take the hatchery on the third base, which he takes right on time. Set that drone out nice and early, so not the biggest disruption. And no doubt not too worried about it. Romanticide, a map where... Heck, we've seen quite a few Void Rays, Maynard. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more to open up. Oracles perhaps as well, as this map is just so good for defending attacks. You've got that one ramp out front, your natural in your third. The other attack path is so far away that it's almost like it's two completely separate attack paths, whereas normally the opponent can kind of rotate from one to the other. On this map, it's like, if I can hold this one ramp, I can hold anything. And that really is it. So... I expect this one to jump forward a bit, and I've just had a flashback. Was it actually this map? There's a big map where we cast a there was a very long Romanticide game, I think, last season. I think it might have been Light and Fid casting it, Light and Pilsky, but I think it was actually TeebuL. Potentially in that massively long game, TeebuL versus RiSky, that would not end in the last season. I mean, it just went on and on and on. And if there's a map for that sort of game to go on, this is definitely it. I
mean, I would love to see it. I think that they're, while late game PvZ for me can sometimes be a little bit resident sleeper, I think game one, it was actually quite PogChamp. Poggers even. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Lots of action.
Yeah, I like it, man. Definitely. I like a bit more back and forth and everything. And we get a lot of good games on these current maps, and Romanticide especially. Third hatch goes down. 245 there for RiSky. Old school standard build order for him. Does get an extra queen on the way straight away as well after that. So quick third queen for RiSky. And his Zergling. Nice. He's got to be happy with that. Gets right in, sees the Stargate, and he'll even see what unit starts up on it first.
Or will he?
Revenge of the Probe.
TeebuL delaying the Void Ray there just to make sure that RiSky doesn't get his greasy little Zerg eyes on it.
It's kind of funny though, because sometimes players do that and you get like a second division after the unit dies. So sometimes you're like, yeah, I'm so smart, I just did that. And then like the person looks through the fog and they're like, oh, I can actually see a Void Ray building that Stargate anyway. Like, and they're like, okay, cool. So yeah, it's like a weird thing I get kind of paranoid about sometimes, because there's so many times where that's happened where I've been on the other side of it and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure that happened after my unit died, but I still had vision on the area. It takes like a second for it to kind of process the unit's dead or something like that.
Oh, we saw the Void Rays here at this phase of the game, looking for those Overlords to pop. As RiSky just tries to check and see when the third Nexus is going to be plopped down for the Protoss, and confirms the Void Ray here. Now RiSky's got some pretty decent information.
Indeed. Third Nexus does go down right on time. A few Zerglings going to poke around and see what they can do. Got a Void Ray popping on out there. And I think that the real thing you want here is RiSky. It's what every Zerg wants against Protoss players. Lots and lots of drones. When they're just making a Void Ray, there's no Oracle out of the map. In fact, he's not even following it up with an Oracle yet. Oh, he might just be doing a single Void Ray opening. Wow. This is very different. So if you build spores, 6, 7, 8 queens, and then this is basically just a ground play with a single Void Ray or two to kind of like, you know, get out on the map, get rid of some vision of yours, be annoying, and then you just play a standard Protoss ground game. So I really like these sort of just mix-ups from TeebuL, keeping RiSky guessing a little bit. He's not going to be sure what's happening, but on the other hand, that Overlord on the right side of the map is very clever. It looks like it'll get a full scout.
Certainly looks like it. President Glaive again here for TeebuL. Nexus getting a bit of nibble there from those Lings, but the Lings aren't going to get too much done as TeebuL is in position to force it back. Yeah, he's going to get a good look here. Down.
Yeah, and that's very, very useful. So, especially seeing that getting chrono boosted, going to need to build some roaches there. RiSky starts 2 more queens right now. 8 roaches do start up, though. Well in time, so very good for RiSky. We should be well prepared for the Adepts.
Yeah, lots of roaches on the way here. RiSky seems to be all set, at least on paper. This Void Ray has gone to sleep. I think we lost that Overlord, sir.
Is he just queen walking again? Does he have a lair?
I mean, I would love to check that out.
Because this is a crazy number of queens and units he's building.
He does have a lair.
It could be the same build, but this time with an Overseer. You know?
He's learning. He's adapting.
I mean, he could just be doing this many roaches for safety, but it's a bit low to stop your drone count, just 49, and making so many roaches. So it might just be a bit of a later one where he's like, okay, defend, absorb that, but then I'm already going to have so many extra units that I'm ready to dive across the map. So he's, I mean, if TeebuL knew this, he'd just go home. There's no reason to do anything with these Adepts on this side of the map. The Evo Chamber sells the story. He's hiding so many units further back as RiSky. He wants that shade to commit. Cancel TeebuL. Smart call from TeebuL. Sees a mass of Zerg and just pulls it on back. Clever reaction from TeebuL.
Well, he's going to have to pull everything back close to the chest here and lock down his defenses because the Zerg is marching. We see the units coming across the map here for RiSky. The Roaches meeting the Adepts, continuing to force them back. The Shade threatens the third. Oh my god, he let it finish.
That's a lot. That's a lot of Zerglings. Good recall, though. He's only going to lose 1. This is such great play from TeebuL. The reactions he's doing are so good. 42 Zerglings in production. RiSky, my gosh. What a mad man. He is going to push through, but this is such a, once again, this is such a slow queen walk. I got to be critical of RiSky. I think he's taking too long to get these builds going, and I actually think TeebuL's very well prepared. As I said, that's Adepts beat Zerglings, but that's a lot of Zerglings.
Yeah, they beat them to a certain point. If there's literally a million of them, then sometimes the Adept will lose the battle. The Lings are getting their surrounds. The Bile's coming in, and not a whole lot that TeebuL can do about that. The Ling count is getting thinned, but there is more where that came from as the Ravagers come forward. RiSky still with a large army supply advantage, but not all that army supply is actually here. It is in those Queens as well, coming in through the natural. Slowly but surely, those Queens are arriving at the Protoss' natural. Where are the units that support them?
Yeah, this is actually a problem that he keeps having, is his Queens get separated from his army. He comes with so many transfusers, but look at those Stalker weapons. Blink's done, Maynard. I think TeebuL has got this one in the bag. He's got so many Blink Stalkers. He's got his batteries finishing on his 3rd. This is excellent play from TeebuL. Void Ray will fall here. What can he do? What can RiSky do? He is basically all in trying to crack this ramp right now. And I mean, the brick, it's a good build, but 2 maps in a row where it is not the right map. The right map for it. This is not a good map for this build order.
If you have that giant ball of Lings right here, right now, I feel like it makes a big difference there for RiSky. He'd be able to push back those Stalkers, the Biles. He could lock him in with those Biles. Obviously, there is still Blink, but not every unit can Blink here for the Protoss. It is still a bit of a back and forth with RiSky's army still in the advantage here. Some of it is still in production, but a lot of it is on the front line firing. But we got these really heavy-hitting Immortals. We got these Immortals on the front side. We've got Shield Battery and support for TeebuL, as well as this concave of Stalkers. And even though he doesn't have the numbers, he's got the positioning and he's got the composition, and he's forcing RiSky away from his front door.
Yeah, I think RiSky needed to be a bit sneaky with this. If he hid his units, let the Shade finish on the Adepts, and then jumped on them, maybe he could have done this. But now, down 10 workers, way better army for Protoss. Stalker's hunting him down. He's going to turn around and try and ambush. There's Immortals there, though. Standing your ground at all against this is not going to be good for RiSky, I don't think.
Oh, he disagrees with you, Pig. He's going to take out one Immortal. He's going for the other one. Target firing it down. Its hardened shields are activated. How is RiSky winning this fight?
Well, TeebuL, not the best micro. His Stalkers should have stood and fought there and let the Immortals fire. You want to only stutter step the Immortals and blink back only Stalkers that are actually getting targeted at the front. So I do think that was a mistake from him, but we can see why. It's because he, at the same time, was saying, goodbye drones, RiSky. TeebuL is all over it, striking on many fronts, keeps focusing them here. Yep, there we go. Nice. He's going to get a lot of these 6-7 workers. RiSky was already way down on economy. And the problem is he's up against Blink Stalkers. When you're down on economy, you're like, oh, maybe if I all in, it's not going to work versus Blink Stalkers. Blink Stalkers easily take roaches on. And when you're at equal army supply, you're down on workers, you're desperate.
And the Prism just ferries these Adepts first class into the main base of the Zerg. There's no creep up here for RiSky to give him early knowledge. And from the high ground, more drones go down. 10 is the count here for TeebuL. That's insane damage. And they're all going to get out of dodge as well. Damn.
Being a bit tricky there, queuing that one up, but does lose 2 of the Adepts. We'll pull back for now. It disrupted sentries. I don't like that he's building more shield batteries because I think right now TeebuL should take a 4th and attack at the same time. I think he's in such a good position. He should be just clearing the creep off the map, dominating the map, and expanding at the same time. Because remember, this is the point where he kind of slowed down a little in a similar scenario versus RiSky. But there we go. 4th. Nexus goes down. The Disruptor's coming in. He's adding his upgrades. Yeah. And I think this is setting up for a really good situation.
I think TeebuL is still winning the game. And he potentially could win the game. Like with this army is extremely anti-Roach Ravager. But I do agree that if this game goes for a few more minutes, I could see RiSky taking the lead here. Like, he's starting to stabilize. TeebuL is giving him that window to breathe.
Yeah. Definitely, I think he could be, just at the very least, get rid of the creep. Just get on the map. And that's something we saw he wasn't confident in that previous scenario. I mean, the Adepts, they're doing great work. So don't get me wrong, TeebuL is still doing things to get ahead here. But I just think there's no reason why he couldn't be in the middle of the map at the same time. And he does not have a single observer out, does he? I don't think so. And he's just starting a cannon there. Uh-oh. Tunneling Claw Roaches. The comeback. Maybe. If they wait to get in the main and the natural, I actually think it's amazing for RiSky. If he goes straight into the main with those, he could get back in the game with Roaches popping up and killing a lot of workers.
Well, TeebuL's going to pull the trigger now on this attack. And, I mean, his army looks pretty damn good. I mean, it's weird to see this many Stalkers at this phase of the game without Colossus support and tons of sentries and that sort of thing, but he does still have an army that's quite good against what RiSky has at home. The Burrowed Roaches are coming in, but unfortunately he bought time for that cannon to finish, so they're going to get deflected here with the Warp-ins, I'd imagine.
Indeed. Stalkers pushing on forwards, just Ravagers. Oh, not the best blink. He didn't have high ground vision. A bad blink there. Does lose a handful of Stalkers for it, but Zealots hitting on the south at the same time. And I think this is still time for TeebuL to push. Just crash in on that top. You've pulled RiSky home. Oh, he's going to recall. He's worried about the Tunneling Claw Roaches, and they are going to force him home. So a nice move by RiSky buys himself a bit of time.
Yeah, the game is still continuing here. TeebuL's attack looked really deadly, but with that recall, RiSky has fresh as seconds to get another maybe half a dozen more drones out, finish up that roach count, get that nice and big. He's getting closer on the 1-1 upgrades as well, as TeebuL had that upgrade advantage for a while. He's about to lose it here. Obviously, has also been thrown into the mix. Now, while TeebuL does have a 4th base, obviously, economically, this is pretty good for the Protoss. He's still, I would say, in a pretty good spot. But TeebuL he's basically bought a ring for this army comp. Like, he can't really tech out of it very easily. He's trying to go into High Templar and Archons right now, which would be great. But RiSky, he's starting to look a little more stable here as long as he gets a good fight coming up the next few seconds.
As an observer with that army, finally getting rid of all that creep on the north of the map. This is something that's so annoying. And he actually gets a good disruptor shot. Zealot's going to take out the base on the bottom. Prism in the main. This is exactly what TeebuL needed to do. Yes, he took a while to start doing it, but now that he's doing it with precision, just threatening on the front and doing big Zealot backstabs. He doesn't care about losing these Zealots as long as they just trade out, because he's got a bit more money than RiSky right now. He's got better mining, and his disruptors are getting value on the front at the same time.
And RiSky doesn't have the units to hold on the main base either. Those Zealots getting warped in and starting to overtake the main from the Zerg. Oh, Disruptors eating some bios, but the Nova Pack in the middle of the Ravagers there. Great connection for TeebuL, and RiSky is bleeding resources. This is the fight that TeebuL wanted.
Hot diddly. Damn, that Disruptor shot. So many dodge. There's always that one big one that makes it all worth the while for the Protoss. Zealots in the main, overwhelming. RiSky has to split his army, but he's so bare bones. He's got so few units. He's down in army supply massively. This was such a great hold early on in this game, and I think TeebuL here coming in, despite the turnaround and losing a big advantaged game in map 1, he stays calm, stays focused, and he comes back fighting really well.
Indeed, and it's looking like he's on the precipice of the victory here. TeebuL, for the first time in 4 years, finding the series victory against RiSky. 2017, the last time TeebuL defeated RiSky. He's just been too strong for that part of the world, and I mean, TeebuL locking it down, man. He's just been getting better. He's been playing a little bit weird, non-kosher version of PvZ, but it's working for him. He's got himself a really, really solid lead in this game, and it's going to be hard to lose that.
Well, you know, Protoss is the big brain race, and I don't even mean that jokingly. They really are. It's so much space for strategic tech switches and adjustments compared to the other races, because each of their races are so good at certain specialty uses, and TeebuL's been showing a great use of it. I mean, I love this diving from RiSky. He gets a few of the disruptors. The problem is at the tail end of it, like, the Stalkers could almost blink on top and just overwhelm his Roach Ravagers. There's so many Blink Stalkers. Yeah,
RiSky's trying to do what he can here with what he has, but unfortunately, I just don't think the numbers are on his side. That was great. I liked the launch pad into the disruptors and taking them down, but he can't afford to lose units, and unfortunately, he did lose those units there during that fight. RiSky actually, funnily enough, still with a bit of a bank, but I think that's just a lava issue because he's been losing hatcheries. Queens aren't really here either, so he just hasn't got the ability to spend that money on an army, and even then, what would you make? It would be a tier 2 army of Roach Ravager and Ling, and not a convincing force at this stage of the game with TeebuL just about max out here.
Oh, Stalkers. Oh, big size storms.
Yeah, the High Templar on the back end actually eat a few biles there. A few of the High Templar did die. Obviously, the Lings did get stormed to death. And there's the GG. TeebuL taking RiSky down with a 2-1 victory. TeebuL, actually, the Legend Slayer, takes out